Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences, my dear fellow Californians. Welcome to the East West Show, Jack Show on the East West Show with the G&E TV. For the past few weeks, I have received lots of audience feedback talking about our diagnostic look into California to see what's wrong with California. And with me is my good friend, Mr. Mark Ng. He is the founder and the CEO of Asian Industry B2B. And next to him is a brand new rising star of California. I call him rising star because after last time talking to him about how to handle California money, I believe he is the one. He is running for the controller seat for California, Mr. Constantino Bradidis. So to both of you, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jack, for having us.
All right, good. I put my hands together because I feel California has hope. For a while, I thought California is done. Well, we have hope. Well, whenever we have people, we have hope. Whenever we have new hands, we have hope, right? So in Chinese, there is a proverb saying nothing goes better than change of a hand. If you get tired of one, you will change for another one, right? Now, with you, I want you to start with, because lots of my friends know Mark already. He is an old buddy of my audience because they say Mark. When they call me, they say Mark. When they send me emails, they say Mark. And they all start spell your Mark right with a C, right? So, and I would like to start with you first with a little introduction, just for the purpose of the constituents, your voters, to know you better, please.
Oh, well, thank you for having me again, Jack. My name is Constantinos Rodidis. I am the candidate for California State Controller. I am a Chief Executive Officer of multiple corporations I've been throughout the years, and I'm also a Chief Financial Officer. I've been a City Commissioner with the City of Anaheim, and I'm also working charitable organizations like the Anaheim Performing Arts Center Foundation, which we're looking to build a all private funded, about a $700 million performing arts center in the city of Anaheim, which would also have an educational component for youth and children to come in and learn more about the arts and get proper training for high wage jobs. So I work obviously in the private sector as a corporate executive and chief financial officer, and work in charities, also being a treasurer of the Anaheim Performing Arts Center Foundation. And then on the side, I happen to be running for California State Controller.
No, not you're on the side, not on the side.
I know.
That's the first one for California.
Yes, sir.
That's first, that's on top of my head, put it that way, all right? So why are we paying that much attention to a controller position? So controller, the word says it, controller.
Yes.
A controller, you go to the dictionary, you find out a controller who controls. That's it, right? Control what? Control money, which is the biggest problem for California now. How can't we not put your name on top of everything?
Thank you.
So that's the importance, right?
Well, I agree, Jack, because we've all heard the golden rule, right? He who has the gold makes the rule.
Yeah.
So the importance of the controller's office is that they have the audit ability to go ahead and open the books, look where money is going, to investigate and come up with better policies for the legislature and for the governor to go ahead and act. So if you don't have somebody with integrity who understands economics, who doesn't understand financing in those positions, it can be tons of corruption. So if we want to make government better, right, you have to look where the gold is going, look where the money is going, and then if you go back and see where it started from, where it goes, that's how you root out the corruption. That's how you can make California more business friendly.
Very good. I'll come back to where you stopped just now, because you just laid down a very, very important point. I will double check with you on that point, though.
Yes.
Now I go to Mark. Mark Ng is the founder and the CEO of Asian Industry B2B. A big organization. I know Mark is also a figure well known for his philanthropic activities. and he's involved also with lots of youth activities and whatever is positive, he gets hands on, including the campaign for Constantino. He gets involved, and I would like to give the microphone to Mike. To Mark, why are you supporting him, please?
Well, I definitely think it's important for our general electorate to understand these different positions that, a lot of people get their ballots and then they just kind of like bubble in anything. And that's a problem. A lot of people say, oh, let's get out the vote. Let's get as many people involved in the process as possible. I actually disagree with that. I want more informed people to vote. I don't want anyone just willy-nilly filling these things out, these ballots out, because what happens is then in a state as big as California, especially for a controller position, then you're subject to all the special interests that are able to manipulate.
You're right.
And
right,
I'm very concerned about that, and that's part of the reason. You're talking about a diagnostic on the state. That is one of the biggest problems. That is the thing that we need to attack.
Mark has mentioned a very, very important point. Lots of people say, hey, come out and vote. As long as you vote, I'm okay. No, not that. You want to vote right. Take Josh Newman, for example. Take the gas tax, for example. Did you vote for him? Okay, you voted, right? All right, so is that okay to you? No, it's not okay because it's taking money out of my pocket. So you might vote against yourself. You might chastise yourself for voting, by doing wrong. All right. So that is a very important point that I would like to emphasize, to lay my stress upon to my audience, that it is so important that you understand why you vote. All right. Now back to you. Constantino just mentioned an important point that he says to those legislators or elected officials, as long as I'm not corrupted, I'm okay. Right? It's been a trend over there. That gives them an excuse of being sluggish, of being misallocation or playing around with the money or so on and so forth. Now, we should have to have a higher standard. Of course, you cannot get yourself corrupted, right? That's one thing, that's basic. That's kindergarten level. That's at the kindergarten level. Every kindergarten, okay, if I ask a 3-year-old, they will tell you, no, you don't want to corrupt, right? So above that, we want something more than the kindergarten level. So I would like to hear your comment, please, because now that you and your organization are supporting him for the controller, California controller position, though, why? All right, from that level on.
Specifically, I'm sorry, I'm not really understanding.
So to get yourself an official, elected an official, who promised I will never corrupt. Is that enough?
Well, promises are promises, right? Anyone can say anything, but you always want to look at, you're playing with odds a lot of times, okay? As much as I love Costas, he's a friend, I still have to, in the back of my mind say, what if he gets elected and becomes part of that? That's why I always look at past performance, because past performance predicts future success or future results. And when I look at Konstantinos's background and understanding business and also in private enterprise, I feel comfortable with that because I see that he's walked the walk and taken the risks and probably lived a very similar life to mine growing my businesses, understanding responsibility, understanding payroll, understanding expenses, and keeping everything reined in to create stability. And that's what California needs. We cannot keep bankrupting the state by running up the credit card. And that's what a controller is able to do.
Even though you did not get my question, you answered my question in the correct way. Right. I was asking, matter of fact, we are not only give the cutting line, the cutting edge of anybody who can promise they will not corrupt. Corruption is only level 1. On level 2, now that you said it anyway, you have to have somebody who talk the talk, walk the walk.
Correct.
Know the inside of it. Okay, now you're talking about money, right? Of course, with money you can get corrupted, right? Now, above the level though, you got to know how to use the money, how to control the money. That's exactly what he answered. Yeah, in the category. Thank you for doing that. From that point on though, and your way of controlling the money, of allocating the money though, what is the key to your understanding, please?
Well, the key to understanding, like getting even to your first point, where you're talking about corruption. So basically the legislature is 120 people. We have 40 assembly
48,
members,
yes.
and then 80 assembly members and 40 state senators. So inherently, here's the problem with the government structure. You have 120 people trying to decide for 40 million people. So I come to you and I have a really good bill. Say it is to fund a park in my community. I go, Jack, I need your vote. You know, you're a fellow assembly member. Can I go ahead and have your vote? Well,
Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show. I had to say, my dear fellow Californians, welcome back to the talk about California. How about that, right? Because we're talking about our own California. Well, you know what, as a father, I would love to talk about nothing than talking about my own daughter, my own son, something like that. That's the logic. You're Californians, you love nothing better than talking about our own California. So this is the moment. Talking about California, joining me is my friend, the candidate for controller position of California, the one who gets the hands on our money, is Constantino Rodriguez, and he is my new hope. I'll keep my fingers crossed for him. Next to him is my friend of another area, however, a big supporter to me, to the show, to my audiences, and to Constantino, right? Why? Because California do need a better hand to control the money. And then we do see the same hope in this gentleman, that he has the capability of doing it, right? By logic, if you put me on a position, oh, I would love to see that, because but I'm very sorry. I know nothing about the job. You will regret if you did. Even though I know you love me, you always love me. Okay, Jack Chow. Yeah, let me be the controller. I can control nothing. I can't even control my wife. How can I do California money, right? So that's the thing. You really have to have some money who has the capability of controlling. Speaking of that, though, I would turn the question to you, a big one, right? To lots of my audiences, they are benighted about the job allocations. Right?
okay.
Right, job duty description, put it that way, all right, such as a governor, such as a legislature. When legislature, talking about legislature, I'm talking about 120 as a whole. I'm not talking about houses.
Yes.
Right, and then treasurer, and then controller. Can you please? You will help him, please.
Let him start.
Yeah, we need help.
There we go. Well, the treasurer, this is how the easiest way to kind of think of treasurer and controller. So when money is coming into the state, that's the treasurer. When money's being spent, that's the controller.
Ah.
So those are kind of the easiest ways. There's other things.
In and out.
In and out, right? So in is treasurer. Out is controller.
All
so
right.
So there are a lot of similarities. So they sit on both the CalPERS and CalSTRS, which are the two union pension plans that we have in California. So on those, the treasurer and controller sit on those. They also put input into the budget committees, tax boards, and so. So there's a lot of overlapping, but also with like the issuance of bonds and selling of bonds, that is done by the treasurer. And the controller just will help on the distribution of the money and making sure that it's used correctly. So within those are the major differences, kind of.
All right.
So he's the Mo and the Mimo.
I see. Okay. All right. Good. And then where do the legislators stand when money is concerned?
Well, now
Or either in or out?
the legislature is the body that makes the laws. and then obviously then we'll vote for a budget, which then will go to the governor, and the governor will have to sign that to become basically put into law.
All right.
So the controller, for instance, is there to protect the taxpayer. Now, if the legislature, why it's important to have a good legislature as well, if the legislature creates a bill, for instance, and it's a program that I don't like, but it complies with state law, I still have to issue payment on that one. I cannot just say, well, I'm going to veto the legislature on what they've done here. So now if the legislature is funding, for instance, a high-speed rail program,
I was exactly going to ask that question.
and the high-speed rail, which Prop 1A was the authorizing agent, requires 1/3 of the money come from the state, 1/3 from the private sector, and 1/3 from the federal government. Now, the job of the controller is if they're sending out money and they take a look and say, well, 1/3 from the private sector doesn't exist, we haven't gotten a penny. The federal government has stopped giving money. Therefore, any money that the state wants to put in is not complying with the law. So therefore, the controller's duty, if they like the project or not, needs to cut the money. Right? So that is
Good,
kind of
good
the
point.
relationship. And obviously the current
Has
controller.
our incumbent done that?
No, our incumbent has not even audited it.
Wow.
She's refused to even look at the program.
I will encourage my audience to vote for you, because while you were talking, I was exactly to ask you about the bullet train project.
Well, it's not a really
to
bullet
using
train.
that, right? The high-speed rail, right? High-speed rail whatsoever thing,
Yeah.
right? Now, okay, now with the job allocation, job duty description so clearly described, though, we will find as audiences, as voters, as Californian voter, will find our legislature, as a matter of fact, in addition to making laws, they have nothing over power over the money, right? And now the governor has even less and less power over the money. How come a governor, when he likes the train so much, high-speed train, it goes into reality? Who has not done the job? In your eye, please.
Well, I think there's been a failure on multiple levels. One from the, because I think everybody's on the take, basically. I think everybody, there's bills.
That's a good analysis, right? I'm cutting to the bone, all right? Let's see.
I mean, it's just corruption, and it's not just, there is a lot of unions at the trough, basically, and everybody wants to get money. But there are business councils and communities. I believe even my own county, the Orange County Business Council, is for the high-speed rail. They went ahead, and there's nothing business-friendly about this project, but there's enough developers or there's enough people into that can make billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars, depending on what they're doing. So everybody wants to turn a blind eye, right? And the only person who's getting basically screwed in the end is the taxpayer. So there's been faults on multiple levels that happens. So the legislature's job is to basically, into the sense, vote on a budget that that staff prepares, or there's input from the governor's office, or there's input from the controller's or treasurer's office. It's all put together. There's a budget that's made on the legislature. They make the laws, right? And then the governor is like the CEO of California, right? They're the executive. That's what we call, the White House or the presidency,
like
the
a
executive
president. Yeah,
branch.
like a president,
They don't
yeah,
make
executive
laws.
branch, yes.
They execute on the laws created by the legislature. And so that's why governors can't go ahead and spend whatever they want. Ultimately, the fiscal decisions are made on the legislature, and the executive, which is like the controller's office or the governor, the treasurer, those are the ones who will execute and make sure everything complies with the law and done properly.
Thank you very much. I thank you also on behalf of my audiences for your statement, for your clear distinction between job duties description, and also by making it your job being controller. As a controller, you will see how clearly you will see your job duties are in a situation when 1/3 here fails, 1/3 here fails. No, not my third. Don't touch my third until you get your third here, your third here. Let's go for it.
Exactly.
And as a controller, That strong position is something that we California need, which later on I'll pick up. Now I will check with Mark, right? He mentioned a very important point. You accidentally mentioned two of them today already, saying that, right, reciprocation, doing favors thing, right? By the union money thing that move things around, not only move things around, move people's mind around. How do you think, how do you comment about what he pointed out as doing favors, union money doing favors to controller, first thing like that?
Well, I think California has a major problem in a lack of accountability, and it's easier in a state like California than in a smaller state like, say, New Hampshire, to have that lack of accountability. And one party, the incumbent party, has now created basically a self-feeding, lotto machine that just keeps paying out for themselves. And that's what's going on in this poor state, and it comes from the lack of education, which is why what I do in AIB, in Asian Industry B2B, and all my other initiatives is to try to focus on educating people. Because like I said, back to having an educated vote, then you can keep people accountable and put good guys that obviously at least espouse, because what we're hearing from Costas should be common sense, but it's so lost in a lot of these career politicians that are basically, they don't even have to answer to the electorate, which is scary. Our electorate is so dumbed down that,
exactly.
And, on top of this, you have all these propositions with all the language that's all convoluted, confusing people, allowing special interests to dominate.
Exactly. Remember last time we joked, we played a little bit with the language thing?
Yeah, it's like, is Jack handsome or is he
not? Is it right not to say that Jack Chow is not a handsome guy?
That's too
See
many.
how many not?
Yeah, it's like your head just gets.
Your head is spin like a top.
Yeah.
You don't even know what they're talking about.
It's too much.
All right.
While
saying, I can bet you that while saying the line that I just gave you, is it not right to say that Jack Chow is not a handsome guy? I believe if you follow my line, you lost yourself. You don't even know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
So that's the language. Okay, Mark, my dear friend, is emphasizing his fact on educating voters, which is a huge, huge, huge point until today. Until today, all right? We always say, hey, come on out and vote. Come on out and exercise your right under this beautiful flag of democracy to vote. Vote for what?
Yeah. When you don't know the issues?
When you don't know the issues, right?
When you're
Oh,
just
now,
talking?
by the way, November, vote yes on number 6, okay?
Yes,
Please.
yes on 6.
All right,
Repeal the
good.
gas tax.
We'll be right back. We'll be right back, please. Hello, dear friends, my lovely audience, my dear fellow Californians. Welcome back to the talk about California. Welcome back to the talk about our own backyard, our own daughters and sons. All right. So joining me is my good friend, Mr. Mark Ang, founder and CEO of Asian B2B, a great guy, a great philanthropic figure for California. I love you for that. We all do that because there are lots of needy people. And that's another subject, another day. I will sit down with you because we have more than we can handle. Right, good. And next to him is the candidate for controller for California, Mr. Constantino Rodidis. And he is the one who knows the business. By doing that, I mean, I ask questions to test water to see exactly how he describes the job duties. He did it perfectly by making several points, which really, really shocked me. In other words, woke me up. Right now, with everything together, we mentioned about the fact that the legislators making own laws only, that's it, right? Okay. Budget committee gives the budget, makes the budget, and then there are in money and there are outside money. Everybody does the job. When everybody exercises duty to do the job, though, there is no chance of corruption. This is question number one. However, that's the kindergarten level. Little higher than that, we want every money spent dollar-wise, penny-wise, dime-wise, whatsoever, wisely. Am I right?
Of course.
Okay, you mentioned just now, I'm always tackle on you. You mentioned how come it costs $4 to do a job, whereas in Texas, $1. Why are we not outsourcing our job to the private sectors, whereas in other states they do? I want you to answer the question. Can you answer your own question?
For the most part.
And with the help of Mark. I believe Mark knows a lot about that area.
For the most part, you cannot take government money and stick it into your campaign contribution, right? So I can't take state funds from the Treasury and put it into my pocket. But if you work for the unions, right, and you come to me and you say, well, Jack, we want or Constantinos, we want a tax, we want higher pay, higher benefits. We're going to give you money from our union due members. We're going to give it to you for more employees. So what's the benefit, right? Well, I'm getting campaign contributions from the unions, which comes from taxpayer funds, right? And then what happens is, well, I'm going to make sure every single job is stuck with the union, or we're going to have 3,500 more employees than we actually need, that we're going to spend billions of dollars on more employees than we actually need. Why outsource, right? Because I might not get those contributions. So it's it's in a sense, it's easiest way to launder government money. It's how to take taxpayer money, you give it to the unions launder it, give it into the dues, and they send it back to the politician who's going to give them those sweetheart deals and make sure nothing gets outsourced.
You see why I'm asking? There's another level of corruption.
That's right, money laundering.
Yeah, money laundering.
It's basically money laundering.
Money laundering, right?
It's a legal way to
money laundering legally,
Yep.
and it is also a bribe and corruption legally.
Yeah, and that's why I don't take any
Same
special
thing like
interest money.
I do. Say, Jack Chow, here's $1 million, Mr. Martinez, right? Please, right? Do not outsource such job soever to anybody else, but give it to me. Something
That's
like
what
that.
the unions are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because I have, for example, I have the show host unit. I just fake it out. Show host unit, right? Let's do it. Something like that. Bribing. You bribe each other, right?
It's in a sense it's bribing, or it's buying influence.
You mentioned that that's why you are not taking union money?
I don't take any union money, corporate money, or special interest
Say
money.
it again, please.
I take no union money, corporate money, or special interest money.
Say it again, please.
I take no union money, special interest, or corporate money.
The important thing, we'll all say 3 times, right? That's a rule. That's a golden rule, right? Okay, now, that is a declaration that I see most hopeful candidate for controller say. Also, almost in a swearing-in way that I will not take union money, private money, and
It's corporate special interest, and so lobbyists and stuff.
special
I'll take
interest
private
money.
I take private money. So most like grassroots, I have I've had people, individuals who have given me $1, and I've had individuals give me $1,000. So within there, I'll take individual campaign contributions, but if unions or special interests or a corporation says, here's thousands of dollars, we want you to do this one, or we're going to bring, a bunch of money in to do this, I won't take that money.
Very good. The more we talk, the more we get to know the inside of your brain, the inside of your set of mind. I love the fact that you take that job that seriously, right? Okay, now that, Mark, since we do a diagnostic look into California, though, with the controller's job position, with the money the way it is controlled, to your eye, Dr. Ang, what's wrong with the California money?
Right now, as is with our current leadership?
Yes.
Oh, I think, exactly what Kostas said. I mean, there's so much, wink, wink, nod, nod deals going on. And basically the unions are out of control. I mean, I'm very excited about the Supreme Court case, Janus decision that came down recently, stripping away a lot of the powers from these unions. I mean, that originally started with one of my good friends, Rebecca Friedrichs, had brought Friedrichs versus California Teachers Union all the way up to the Supreme Court. But it got deadlocked 4-4 because of Scalia's death. But thank goodness 2 years later we got a redo of that, and we're able to get that all the way up with a 5-4 decision.
The 5-4 or 7-2? Oh, 7-2 over the...
The 7-2 was the Christian Baker.
Right.
Okay, this is
and
a
5-4 over the fee, the due.
Yes,
the member
union
due
dues,
issue.
exactly.
The union dues, okay.
Yeah.
It is so obvious that California needs a good doctor, needs a good controller for its money. On way in, of course, I know it's important. On way out is most important.
Absolutely.
I would say most important.
And I think we do have a bigger expenses problem than anything here. Just look around you on all the waste and how it's just spent. I mean, it's especially with the Chinese people, we're taught, be frugal.
Sure.
I mean, look at our Chinese restaurants. We have the cheapest restaurants because we, as a culture, want to provide exactly. And I say cheap in a good way because cheap is good, and we stretch our dollar.
Yes.
And we make sure it goes a long way.
Yes.
It should make every Chinese person cringe and very uncomfortable about how we throw away our money. And what people don't understand is they're not looking at, and the problem with the Chinese communities, we revere these politicians. We go, oh, they are God, let me worship them, let me take a picture with them. That is the problem right there. While you do that and you revere and you do that, you don't make them accountable.
I have a basic rule that I tell my wife the first visit to 7-Eleven, because she was recently immigrated into this country. I said, whoever buys their milk at 7-Eleven, I will guarantee they are poor guys. You see the philosophy? Being that 7-Eleven is not a provider for cheap, less expensive milk. Supermarket is, right?
Yeah.
Now, why you buy the 7-Eleven for your day-to-day milk, this big bottle thing, which is about 50% expensive, more expensive?
Yes.
Because you do not know how to use your money.
Correct.
You're not using your money smartly.
Exactly.
Am I right?
Absolutely. And that's what the state is doing. All of these pensions.
That's exactly, I want to tell you this. You want to probably use my philosophy. When someday you do the job though, do not buy your milk at the 7-Eleven.
Exactly.
You go buy
Do not trust the California government with a dime of your money.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
California government's like the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, it's like the 7-Eleven. They charge you for the convenience. They charge you for the kind of like, the moment I want a bottle of milk and I hate going anywhere else.
Yep.
So they're it, 50% more, right? So while you ask yourself, you go back home and ask your wife, did you get your milk from 7-Eleven? If she says yes, divorce her. How about that?
Very good.
Because of money, right? Yeah. So once you are controller, you be the wife of California. Will you buy California milk at 7-Eleven?
Of course not.
See, serious question, simple though.
I won't buy it at the grocery store. I'm going to go direct to the source. I'm going to get even cheaper
wholesale.
than wholesale. Get even cheaper than
You'll
the grocery
raise
store.
your own cow.
I'll raise my own cow.
How about that? So, my dear friend, we got a controller here who is ready to raise his own cow for California milk. How good? We like that, right? We don't want you to be too stingy, right? So, but to be reasonably smart.
Time is money.
It's funny, but it's a laughable example. However, it says the logic, right? So that's why I ask you to divorce her, yes, for the logic, right? Okay, my dear friends, let's take a short moment. When we come back, we'll find out how to make sure that you're not getting divorced by the husband. Hello, my dear friends, my lovely audience. Welcome back to the show, the East-West show. As a matter of fact, it turns out to be a discussion about how we want to keep California better off. And we even talk about how we want to be bean counting for our California money. We have to. It is the moment. It is the moment we want to do so. If you call it stingy, we have to be that stingy. All right. Now, today, why it is a serious discussion? Because we are talking about a candidate who is running for the serious job position. That is controller. Now that with the education, you understand, a controller controls the money going out.
Yes.
Right? If I may use an example, a treasurer is the husband who makes the incoming money, the wife being the controller who controls the outgoing money. That's why I asked him if he be the controller, will he buy milk at a 7-Eleven? And the answer is no, right? Well, it's not joking. We're not joking. We're talking about the matter, which is not joking matter, right? And speaking of that, though, based upon that principle, that policy, though, how you want to do the job, right? By the time so far, the problem you have seen, how you want to line up, how you want to prioritize your agenda once you take position, once you take office. I think it's about reasonable time to ask him. Right?
Yep.
It sounds like he's ready.
I'm ready. Obviously, the big ticket items, right? Those are going to be the biggest things that we need to go with because they have the largest waste. So talking about the high-speed rail, for instance, that's looking at up to $98.1 billion to go ahead and build this boondoggle that's not high speed, and it's just dumping more and more money basically into the ocean. So for instance, those are the first things I want to tackle, of cutting funding on those things, auditing these big ticket programs like Caltrans, which waste billions and billions of dollars. Because once we do that, we're also going to go ahead and see effects of tangible outcomes. So not just saving money, but when we do that one, audit, say, Caltrans, and restructure how it operates and how it works, then we're going to have our money not going wasted, but actually going to road repair.
Good point. Stop there, right there. Let me ask you, Mark, let's play doctors, right? If you're a doctor, you're at the ER, right? You're at the ER, emergency room, right? There comes in a patient who is bleeding, who has lost already a great amount of blood, right? He needs transfusion, right, of blood. Okay, now, and he's still bleeding. What will you do first? Stop bleeding or give him more or her more blood? So a question
I
for you.
would stop the bleeding.
You
That
will
would
stop
be the
bleeding.
first thing, right?
And you.
Control it.
Let's play doctors. You, what would you do first?
Well, from a medical standpoint, which I'm not a medical doctor, but you would put a
Common
little
sense.
transfusion in and
Common
then
sense.
also close it at the same time.
Common sense. You close the bleeding.
But yes,
right?
yeah.
Well, because the blood is still gushing out of the body, though. What sense does it make if you keep infusing the body, right? So now stop bleeding. You will prioritize the stopping of the bleeding.
Yes,
Am I right?
correct.
Okay, I believe my audience, you all heard it right. We're bleeding. To my eye, we're bleeding. We'll say it again one more time about how much it costs the California money. I mean the high-speed rail.
The high-speed rail this is a projection, which I think is still faulty and not.
Underestimating it.
It's still underestimated.
Underestimated, yes.
They say up to $98.1 billion to build a high-speed rail.
That's a lot of money.
Yes, and let me point out to the fact it's not high speed. It was supposed to be up to 220 miles an hour. In large stretches, it would be maximum 110. So it would be going at like basically Amtrak speeds a lot of the times because they're using the same rail. It went from 800 miles to 520 miles. And so when we look at this, when it would be 35 billion to 98.1, which I still think is underestimating it. Also, by the way, it should have been completed 2 years from now. But now they're talking about 2033 or 2034. It's insanity. The price keeps on going up. And besides the fact, this is technology older than me. We're building a train that we know from our own studies may help up to 1% of traffic
By the way,
congestion.
how old are you, if I may, please?
I am 38. I'll be 39 when I take office.
I'm very sorry the technology older than you. All right. So for $98.1 billion, you're building something that is 40 years old. That's
Older,
quite a
mhm.
joke.
I mean, high-speed rail technology really came in the 1960s to the early 1970s is when it came. I was born in 79, so I'm close to it. But
No, in Japan, 1964.
yes,
Japan, the new Ganxian, Shinkansen, the new, what's it called, the trunk line, the new trunk line or whatever, in Japan, 1964. And yet we're not going that speed.
nope. It would be the slowest.
The Japan was 280 something kilometers. We're talking about 120 miles.
110 up to in certain sections. Yes, it would be
No.
the slowest.
If you do not,
high-speed rail
if you
in the world.
promise not to give me a ticket, though, I'll drive 120 miles. Right? Because I can drive faster than the
that's
high-speed rail in
Yeah, high
California.
speed. It's
Number
more, yeah,
one,
medium speed.
we can't literally drive that fast, right? And number two, the technology is too old. And number three, that spans.
So
that-
it's
that
like
needs
spending
to
a bunch of money to buy an
98.1
obsolete black
billion.
and white TV, right?
Exactly,
For your household.
exact-
If you want to bring it back to the household,
exactly.
let's spend our
Exactly.
entire household budget.
It looks like my son, all right? I offered him a Cadillac. He didn't want it. He wanted a Miata of Japan made of 2012. Well, crazy people, right? These days.
You're calling your son
Well,
crazy?
as a son, though, okay, go ahead. Here's the budget, right? What are you going to do? But you're talking about California.
Affects
you're
all
talking
of us.
California. Now, so much is the bleeding. So much of bleeding. $98.1 billion, billion with a B, billion dollars, right? $98.1 billion on something 40 years old, driving 110 to 130 miles whatsoever, right? So, which California does not even need. Oh, plus, we do not have the passengers ready yet. The passengers say, no, I don't drive that way.
Exactly.
Right? I need to go off at Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
Well, at Santa Barbara, there's no stop.
Yeah.
Well-
This really is a case of privilege. You have these elites that, limousine liberals think that everyone has the luxury to go up to San Francisco just for the weekend because they feel like it. But there's no real business
There's a
purpose in
private
that.
jet thinking.
Exactly.
You
And it
think
is-
about A to B.
And it is
That's
so
it.
insulting to the rest of us who are struggling, to make a living. Yeah, we have our own businesses, but
Mm-hmm.
most of our money goes back into the business and to payroll, especially now with $15 an hour minimum wage. I mean, this is ridiculous,
Where does the money come from, though?
Yeah.
You can say $25 per minimum wage,
Yeah,
but there is no
exactly.
money to back it
They
up.
create these arbitrary things to make people feel good, to buy votes, but they don't realize how it actually affects the entire
Those are
society.
radical ideas. We
Radical
really
is
have
the
to
word.
give a
Out
stop.
of control.
They're the arsenic firefighter, right? This is a problem with politicians, right? They set the fire, and then they say, oh, I can come in and I can, with the fire hose and take off the fire. But while they're doing that and you're looking at that, no, even though they started the fire, then they're in this next corner over here and they're setting another fire.
There's
And-
another one.
And they're setting, so they create the problems and then they say, we're going to come with a solution to fix the problem that we made, which doesn't. And then, we have to come up with a new solution. It's the same story over and over again.
Now you tell me, right? I tell you that with all these, though, we need somebody new. We need to change a hand.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right? and change of hand. I still want to come back to the original point that now we're bleeding.
Yep.
Right? We're bleeding lots of money, at a gushing kind of a speed.
We are burning $100 bills. That's what we're doing in this state.
That's what we're doing. What we're
Destroying
doing. Right.
value.
So that's why I ask you guys to play doctors at the ER room. So I ask you, you want to stop bleeding first. My lovely audiences, it is quite a logic, quite a common sense. You ask a 3-year-old, well, if you want to stop bleeding first or doing whatsoever first, right? Okay. So it is a conclusion, all right? Next thing, so I ask you about a prioritization. Your answer is that first you want to stop bleeding. What will you do next?
Well, like I said, for the stop bleeding would be the high-speed rail,
Yes.
right? So that's cutting off. The next thing is, right, when the patient's coming in, you have to address they were stabbed or shot or whatever happened, right? Like, it's not the life-threatening thing, but it's very serious. That's what you go after next. That's the things like the Caltrans and the big government programs that are wasting billions of dollars that need to be run more efficiently. Once we get to that one, you have the other problems that the body that you need to bandage up and so forth. And that would be the government reform, how we go ahead and start looking at government, putting propositions on the ballot and stripping government away from power, bringing it more locally.
All
Those
right.
are the things that we need
In other words, to stop next bleeding.
Yes, stop the next bleeding, right? It's to prevent.
Poor California, always bleeding. So stop next bleeding.
Stop the next bleeding.
If I may apply to your previous example though. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. You need my 1/3. Let's show me the first 1/3 and the second 1/3. Until they are ready, you are not seeing me getting let go this 1/3.
Correct.
And that will stop the bleeding.
Yes, it will.
Am I right?
On day one.
On day
I'll go
one.
into
Very
office.
good. Very good.
And I'll make sure that I'll send a memo to the new governor and to the legislature and direct the staff not to issue payments.
Governor John Cox. I'll better bet on him. If you get him to work along with you, though, you got a governor of my choice, a guy, the controller of my choice. Oh my God, my California already. Right?
Exactly.
You make your call, my dear friend. I'm not exaggerating it. I am saying that you got it in your hand to make it your California by voting your governor, by voting for your controller, so that your money can be protecting you your way. So that's how many years I can say, right? So, okay, my dear friends, let's call it off because we're over time already. I really wish there was 200 minutes in an hour so that we can do more. With me, my friend, candidate for California Controller, Mr. Constantino Radidis, and also my other friend, Mr. Mark Ang, founder and CEO of Asian B2B, who is also a philanthropic figure for California. To both of you, good luck, and to you, good luck, and to California, good luck, and to everybody, you, ladies and gentlemen of my audiences, good luck for a better California, your California, make it your way, your California. So, thank you for watching.